Former CEO of Microsoft, also the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, get his read on all these developments, because maybe what you don't know about Steve Ballmer is he's come up with a site that looks into where the money is going and how it comes in. And it was very educational to me. usafacts.org. We're showing this site now, and if you pull different things up, like on money and where it's going, very easy for even a Nimrod like me to follow. Steve Ballmer, the one thing I discovered is when we talk revenues, I didn't realize so many different revenue streams for the government, if we can pull that up under the revenue section there, guys. But one of the things I noticed is they're obviously what people submit via their taxes, but so many different types of taxes. Why did you do this?
Well, I started out just in terms of some philanthropic work we were doing, really wanting to understand where the government raises money and where does it go and how does that affect quality of life, particularly for kids that grow up in poor situations. And what I found was not only is it hard to find that information, it was very hard also to find out what I'll call outcome data. How effective is government money at doing what it sets out to do? How do we, by the numbers, hold government accountable? And you have to have history to look at that. When there's a new thing that comes on the radar, like this tax reform package, what you really want to know is what were the goals, what do the actuals look like from the past, and what are the targets for improvement going forward. And as those numbers become available, let's be able to hold government accountable.
All right. When you say that, though, now the most recent data I have here, when I go into where is the money going, 2014 was the most recent. Is that the most recent data you have?
We keep things, we only use government data.
Got it.
And we keep things up to date. We have maybe a month or so lag time, but we keep things up to date with the most recent government data. So the answer is, once government publishes, we publish. And that'll tell you a big part of the problem is people in government are making decisions with old data. I think that's a real problem. I think that should be a real emphasis on government to be able to, like the rest of the world, use data to drive decision making.
All right. Is there anything in your data, though, Steve, that has indicated that a tax cut would be stimulative? The argument you hear from a lot of so-called supply-siders in the past is that every time taxes have been cut, it's been able to goose government revenues. Of course, the not-so-dirty little secret is that whether Republicans or Democrats are in charge, they spend those revenues and then some. What have you discovered?
Well, what we find on the site, and there's something in there specifically about tax reform, if you go back to 1980, you get a chance to look at a few significant tax cuts. The Reagan tax cut, the Bush tax cut, and with the tax cut, what happened to total tax revenue. Supply-side economics, I think, would say the tax rates went down, but economic activity grew, and so total tax revenue should have grown. You could see that there have been varying effects from the different tax cuts that went into place. What we need to ask now is, if you're a legislator, you have to ask, what outcome are we trying to drive? Are we trying to make these things revenue neutral through growth? And if so, say it. And if so, we ought to be able to see it in the numbers in the next year or two. I am a balanced budget guy. It's just where I am. I'm a business person. I look at the history, and frankly, while in general I'm nonpartisan, on this issue of making sure that our budget doesn't get worse, that we run bigger deficits, I think it's reasonable to have some concerns.